Welcome to the February 1st, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And PyroJackFrost.
So,
no one can see you wave, Lotus Prince.
That's right.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. The camera spins faster and faster. So, I wanted to do a reactive bit here about Monster Hunter World coming out. I believe the beta is either just ending or on PS4 and Xbox One. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I know that neither of you are into Monster Hunter, really. And go ahead.
I've tried to. I played, I think, Monster Hunter 2, let's say. I don't remember what it was actually called.
The PSP one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I played some of the offshoots, like the God Eater games and stuff like that. Like, I've wanted to get into them because I think they're cool, but I know they're a huge time commitment, and it's kind of the same reason why I didn't get into Dark Souls at first, because it was kind of too much for me. Yeah. So I always fell off them pretty quickly.
Yeah, you know what? It's always been one of those series where I know it's good, so I feel like you know the people playing it can't be wrong. You know what I mean? There has to be something.
Every single one of them is wrong.
As Old Man Stumpy would say.
But it's always been impenetrable to me, and I own, I think, 3 Monster Hunter games. I own Try for the Wii, which was a lot of fun to get started with, and I had bought another copy to play with a friend. And you guys know this. My schedule is just always packed with stuff to do. So therefore, I never can play with anybody because like everybody else has less stuff to do or like puts the time aside for it, and I just don't have that time. You know what I mean? And so I want to. I have the will. I just don't. It's very difficult, especially if people want to do it spur of the moment. Like I have to plan.
I feel you. That was the same thing when I would play like World of Warcraft. Not to go off topic that much, but
sure.
I wanted to play, when I was in college, I was playing with a bunch of my roommates, and I either, like you said, didn't have the same schedule as them, so we couldn't play together, or I can't just play that same game over and over again. Like, day after day, I had to play other games, but they would still play, so we'd be leveling together. I'd get to level, like, 20, and then I would be playing less often than them. They'd be, like, 10 levels ahead of me. I would stop playing for a little bit, and I'd say, oh, I'm going to start playing again. They're like, oh, yeah, we were going to start a new character. So they would get to 20, play with me until I hit, like, 30, and then they would get a higher level. So it would be, like, this weird treadmill where I'd stop every 10 levels because they exceeded what I was capable of.
Plus I feel like, I've tried to do this with a few games. Borderlands 2... let me see. And the big problem with that is that the friend that we were playing with like kept skipping through the cutscenes, and I'm like, dude, like I'm playing through this the first time. Like, give me that. And he's just impatient, and just like he had way more time to play the games than I did. So I'm just like, ugh. So I lost my will to play that.
It was me, you, and someone else, and I think I remember that.
Yeah. So
I think
I already
exactly right.
I think I already played through the game, and I wanted to watch the cutscenes again too. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're just going.
Yeah, it was Luminaire. Yeah, let's just put it that way.
It was. I actually thought you had played Borderlands with somebody else, like the guy.
No, it was Luminaire that was skipping through stuff. So
I thought it was the guy who moves to Illinois.
No,
I mean, on the other hand, we could have probably mentioned too that don't skip any cutscenes, but it's still.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and then so I tried this again with Destiny 2, and I just never started playing it.
Yeah, and I want to apologize too, because I never actually texted you and said, hey, you want to play?
So that's part of this. So anytime I've wanted to play a co-op game, I've never had a friend that was really good at saying, "Hey, you want to play this?"
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I also tried this with Triforce Heroes as well. Like, so any big co-op game. The only time that I've ever successfully been able to get through this, and it's because of the nature of you, is Lotus and I
Peace Walker.
Played through Peace Walker, and it was awesome. You know, so
And,
like, I'm trying
also
to recreate
anything we
that.
Let's Play, because I'm really neurotic about that. I'm like, now are you available? How about now? Maybe
Yeah.
now, because I have to put this
I
stuff
need
online.
that though. I need that because like I don't. First of all, I don't want to disappoint you, so I'm going to be thinking about it more times, and also like I need to start thinking. Oh wait, maybe I should be getting myself on a schedule in order to do this. So he was really good at corralling me because my mind's all over the place. I have a lot of ideas about things, and I have a lot of different friend groups. So like I'm always like doing something, you know.
And one thing else, by the way, one thing about Peace Walker in particular that's cool is that unlike something like World of Warcraft, you can get better weapons and stuff, but you don't level up to the point where you're playing a level in the story and it's like, oh, my character can't handle that, but yours can. Like that's you can play as better characters, but Metal Gear Solid's whole gimmick is don't get seen in the first place. So, like, I actually did, like, I tried to keep the story with Vice at the same time, but when we beat the story mode and we were just doing extra stuff, I got way the hell ahead of him, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, and Mr. Ryu actually joined us towards the end.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. That was
my God,
really cool.
We never got the
imagine.
proper 4-player experience, but with 3 players, it was pretty damn sweet.
Yeah, it was really cool because we were playing the Monster Hunter levels in that.
That's my only Monster Hunter experience, is fighting them with a rocket launcher, which I'm pretty sure is not how the real game's supposed to go. My only playing Monster Hunter experience, because like I am not interested in playing Monster Hunter at all, but I really enjoy watching Mr. Ryu play it, because I've been to his place a bunch of times when he was playing through Try, and that stuff's a lot of fun to watch, because he's good at it, and usually I get to him, like, whenever he's like, oh, in the middle of playing Monster Hunter, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll watch. Like, when I tuned in, he was already, I don't think he'd beaten the game, but he was pretty far along to the point where he knew how to play. I wasn't watching him stumble through the first couple of levels or whatever. And the thing with Monster Hunter is it's kind of what Pyro said, like, you are doing the same thing over and over again, like in WoW. So it's like, oh, I would like more synthesis parts. I guess I'll fight this monster again, because there are only so many monsters in Monster Hunter, although their environments may change and everything. But the thing with Monster Hunter is that even if you have good armor, it's still possible to die, and especially when you're fighting things for the first time, it is highly possible to die. Like, it's kind of like, this actually calls back to Pyro's connection with Dark Souls, where you're fighting really big bosses, where unless you have some janky camera issue, like mainly in a Souls game, not really a Monster Hunter game, but usually if you die to a boss, it's not because of cheap BS. It's like, you can hack away at them forever, just don't get hit, because they'll 1, 2, or 3 shot you if you're not prepared for them. And the monsters themselves are gorgeous and have really, in Monster Hunter, they have, cool behavior patterns. They have areas they retreat to sleep. You could lure them with food. They have, like, interesting, like, just natural animations. Like, they look like they're actual creatures, the way they interact with other things in the wild and everything. It's freaking gorgeous to behold.
Yeah, so I know that the series is cool and it's a lot of fun. So I tried to get into it with 3 and then just didn't go anywhere. But then I played 4 Ultimate, and that was a lot of fun.
4 was that was the Vita game, right?
No, 4 Ultimate is the 3DS game.
Excuse me, that's right. Freedom Unite was like the PSP.
Yeah,
4 was the 3DS. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so 4 Ultimate is the final version of 4. That was released on the 3DS, and that game's a lot of fun. It was a blast, and that's right around when I got a new 3DS. So that game got a lot better when you could use the second analog. So
yeah, that was the thing.
Like
I actually
thing.
Yeah, no, like I actually saw a meme online like today or yesterday where it was people complaining about Monster Hunter World Beta's controls, and it's like, oh honey, and he just showed them like the PSP. It's like you don't even know.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that, and I would play that with Mr. Ryu, which is the best way to play it. They call it Sherpaing now, I think, is when you have somebody who's really good at an MMO, like, show you the ways of it.
Oh, that's clever.
So that actually, that term originated, I think, with Destiny, or Destiny 2. And basically, there are people that you can meet up with online. There's an actual, like, website where you could basically say, "Hey, can somebody Sherpa me?" And somebody will be like, "Okay, I'll show you the way."
Oh,
like,
that's
just
nice. Sweet. That's
just
really
so
cool.
they can be fun.
Do you
and
know
grind.
the way?
Yeah.
But
that's freaking cool, though.
People used to do that also in Final Fantasy XI. That's the first time I had ever heard of people doing that kind of thing. Like, people just hang out in a central point, and
they do that in 14.
Yeah, basically, if they want to grind or just to give back to the community, they'll just sit there and wait for somebody who needs help.
In 14, if you haven't played for a while, they'll ask you if you want to be, I don't remember the name of it, but like, let's just call it a Greenfoot. And then if you have been playing for a while, you can choose to become part of, like, the Masters, let's say. And then you have your, like, if you're a Master and if you're a Greenfoot, you have your own chat available to you that only the two people can talk to and ask for help and ask people to, like, help them out. And there's bonuses. So, like, the longer you play in a party or something like that with one or the other, you'll get bonuses as well. So they give you reasons to help each other out.
That's clever.
Awesome.
That really is nice. It's kind of like, again, it's kind of like Dark Souls, where somebody could summon you to help them fight with a boss fight. But why should you do that unless you're just a really nice guy? But sometimes when you do that, you can get an item that helps for a covenant you might have joined and things like that. Like, there are actual practical rewards for online play, both assisting and being the guy who invades and attacks other players. Like, there are actual in-game reasons to do it other than just trolling. It's kind of clever how it's handled.
So I played that a little bit, and then I believe Generations came out after that. Generations was a lot of fun. I really like that. Basically, Generations was like a catch-all of all of the awesome locations and monsters of the previous games. So it was a really cool jump-on point for somebody who hadn't played the earlier games. So I played a little bit more of that. I didn't play either of these games extensively, but I played them enough to get the sense that I liked them. So I didn't get any high levels or anything like that, but I did have a lot of fun, and then that became Double X after that. So I had a lot of fun with those, and they're really cool, and I like playing them with Mr. Ryu especially because these games notoriously don't have tutorials.
Yeah.
And so that you basically the game is built to basically have to, an expert has to show you how to play. They want you to do that. But the thing is, if you don't play on a schedule, like he played that game every night. There's no way I could play that game every night. But anyway, I had my fun playing that, but for only a short time. So I'm really looking forward to this game because apparently, like, they did away with all of the shortcomings of the previous games in the series by a long shot. Apparently, there are tutorials.
Oh, wow.
All of the bullshit of the inventory is gone. So
what sort of bullshit?
So there are things like essential items that you would never want to remove from your inventory, like the spit, like the bug net, things like that. Essential items that you need in order to collect or do things you would normally do in any level or could use in any level. Those do not take up spots in your inventory anymore.
Oh, thank you. Like that, like Yakuza used to have that problem too, where you would have an inventory of X number of squares, but 3 of those were dedicated to weapons, and you could only have weapons there. And in later Yakuza games, now you have 2 separate inventories, one for items and one for weapons and gear, and it's so much better.
Yeah, so there's a lot of quality of life improvements. Apparently, you don't need to quit out of a hunt for stupid reasons anymore.
What do you mean?
Like if your trap broke, for instance, and you were trapping, they allow you to reset a trap over at base camp.
Okay.
There's just like a lot of really cool quality of life improvements.
I didn't even realize that the spit took up an inventory slot. That's pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, no, like essential items.
Like the inventory is pretty huge, but still, like, really.
It's always nice when games add those quality of life things, because it's. I think more people are getting to the point where they are just annoyed by stupid game decisions that are added as a challenge, or just they didn't think yet it might be a challenge.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
Because my thought too is, let's say there is that one person who's like, I wish the game was more challenging, and spit took up a slot. It's like, you could always just have some random item take up a slot if you want to.
The thing with that is, like, I know that there's a lot of nostalgia toward, like, oh, look at these pansies complaining about every little thing. Back in my day, games were hard, but, like,
it should just be good.
I was going to say, there's a difference between hard and obnoxious. Like, that's not healthy, the game's more challenging now. Like, it's just like, do I really need to take up a block for the freaking spit? Like, I don't need to do that. Like, the game doesn't become easier. It just becomes more accessible.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's also like a lobby system and like just like easy online stuff, So it's a heck of a lot easier than the stupidity of the previous game. I think it's also easier to find like all of the different spaces. I think they're all like. So in there, you had to go to all these different little parts of the hub world in order to like prep for a hunt. Like,
that's true. Yeah, you'd have to go over to the cook and eat X kind of food to give you hot preparation, cold preparation, but then you have to go over to the blacksmith to do this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's streamlined or in the same spot.
Yeah, at the very least, put them next to each other. Yeah, like, well, who wants to run from all the way to the other side to do, like, that thing you have to do before every single mission? I remember I did watch Mr. Ryu go through, like, his little ritual of preparation before every mission, and it's like, all right, like, come on, can we just get this done?
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to playing that. Mr. Ryu's going to play it on PC. I'm going, which I'm very excited for. Yeah, I'm excited though, because that's how I would want to play it. So that's what I'm gonna buy it for. So I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll actually like stick with this one and play it through a lot of it, but
keep in mind though, like, of all games, Monster Hunter, like Monster Hunter is like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, oh, this will be a game I play. Like, that Monster Hunter is a way of life. Like, if you want to get good, like, that's just gonna be the only thing you do.
I think I'm okay with playing that game only as much as I feel like playing it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I don't need to play all the content.
What I'm saying is, if you want to beat the story, even just the story, like, okay.
There's not much of a story. The story is the progression of the beasts. That's true. So in that game, I can have my fun of it with just like the hours spent playing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like something I need to complete.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just like how I view most MMOs, or like Diablo 3 is actually another really good example. That I love playing Diablo 3, and beating it didn't take that long. Not that I play much anymore now, but that's just one of those games that, hey, maybe once or twice a week I'll play for a couple hours and just grind a little bit. Sure. Instead of hunting some monsters, it's in this case running through some dungeons, see if I can upgrade a few of my equipment pieces, just for the hell of it. It's a way of life, but at the same time, it's as much of a way of life as you want it to be. It could be something that you play constantly, every single day, or it could be something that you play every so often, just to slowly progress in your own mental goals.
That's fair.
That's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. This is, of course, based off of word of mouth of some people that I've been listening to, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, that every single time I hear about a new Monster Hunter, I kind of want to try it. Because, like you said, so many people can't be wrong. Like, contrary to what I said before. But so many people can't be wrong. And I've tried all of them. I've tried the Ragnarok Online one. I've tried the Final Fantasy one. The Final Fantasy one I think I stuck with longer because of...
What's that one called?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. And it was not like the same thing where you're hunting monsters, but it's the same idea where you pick a mission, you beat that mission, there's a summon at the end that you have to defeat, you get drops that don't always drop, so you have to keep grinding that until you get what you need to get better equipment or get unlocked classes, etc.
Explorers.
Explorers. So it was a similar, similar idea, I guess you could say, in a way, like overall idea. And I think the Final Fantasy I stuck with the most just because of the theme, because it was a Final Fantasy game. Same with Ragnarok Online a little bit because I was a huge fan of that when I was in high school. But for all of them, again, it's one of those things that I know that people love these games, and I kind of feel like I want to love them too. But the older I get, the more I realize that I don't have to love the same games that everyone else loves.
That's true too.
But also it's hard because there are so many good games out there. Like I listen to some other podcasts who talk about how good the new Assassin's Creed is, or how good the new Doom was, and I haven't played any of them because there are so many games that I want to play that I really just have to be...
You shouldn't skip Doom, though.
I know, but like, there's so
really
many games
good.
I really need to be specific about what games I play.
No, but the thing is, though, it's also nice to reach that kind of zen where, like, I really don't care what everybody else says you should or shouldn't be playing. Like,
I'm playing what I'm playing.
I played Doom last year. Like, that's not the latest I've ever played games, but, like, a lot of what I've played in the last several years have been, like fucking PS1 and 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's
Eternal
like,
Ring.
yeah, Eternal Ring. It's like a meme. And people are like, hey, have you tried out Resident Evil 7? I'm like, I'll get to it in probably like 4 or 5 years, literally.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
And except for like a few series that I will get no matter what first day, like maybe Final Fantasy games, but definitely like Mega 10 games. Other than that, like, I'll probably have the mindset where, hey, if it's good, I'll pick it up. And then I'll just forget about it.
That's what I do. That's exactly what I do.
And then I'll just forget about it, and I'll be like, okay, if I don't care this long, then whatever, I'll move on from it.
It's very rare. It's very rare that I play a game like when it comes out. Mm-hmm. Like probably the most recent game I've played has been Yakuza 0 and Kiwami. Like,
I was just gonna say
those were games. Even I was surprised because I've always been 1 or 2 games behind in the Yakuza series. But when Yakuza 6 finally comes out, I probably will jump on that because like I've gotten into a Yakuza groove now, so I'm in the mood, but like I'm genuinely hyped about Yakuza games now. So like it's very rare. Like even stuff like Lollipop Chainsaw, I got that I think the day it came out, and I played it like a year later, and I actually really wanted to play that one, but I'm very insistent on playing games in order, and I'm a Let's Player, so like it just takes time. Like, and I've finally learned to kind of just internalize that. Like Resident Evil 7, I want to play it. Too bad there's like more than 15 fucking Resident Evil games alone before that. Like it'll be a while. So yeah, like play what you want to play when you want to play it.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time I would disagree is if you really got to get on that community now. Like if I want to start playing Call of Duty Black Ops 1 multiplayer, like I'm out of luck.
Yeah. No, actually, those games.
Well, whatever. The really older games.
Yeah.
Well, like in general, though, the community moves on to the next one though in the series.
So, that's actually kind of what I was getting at. Like, I feel like, at least with Destiny 2, there's still content coming out with that. So
that's
there's still a pretty good crowd with that, and they make it pretty easy to jump in, jump out, whether or not you have friends who are playing or not.
Yeah, I need to jump in, so at some point. But I know that when Monster Hunter PC comes out, I'm prepping myself to play it right when it starts, and I'm also gonna join. I'm also gonna keep up with the Discord that Mr. Ryu has for that kind of thing. So.
I don't know if we've actually mentioned it, but Mr. Ryu, because we've mentioned before, he can be really helpful and he can be really trolly depending on what you're playing. But
he's very helpful.
Yeah, he is a genuinely good person to have with in Monster Hunter.
Same with Final Fantasy 14.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, he's I know he's trolled some in.
No, but I mean he's very helpful.
Absolutely.
He'll troll you while he's being helpful, but he really cares about being helpful because he wants you to keep playing with him.
No, he does. And in Monster Hunter, he's also versatile. I remember watching him streaming with, like, or not, he wasn't streaming, but other people were streaming, and he was, like, with them, and he was playing, like, the gun role, which is really meant to support, because the guns are kind of, like, more distractions than anything in that game, and, like, yeah, he's fine playing support as well as straight-up DPS, so it's kind of nice.
So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. But just that I'm kind of excited. I'm no by no means an expert or anything like that. It's just one of those things I have interest in. Plus, I kind of like the Dark Souls and Punch Out aspects of the game, like the timing based attacks and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
and
it's
also
just
like
something that appeals to me.
And like some enemies in Dark Souls, at least in the first Dark Souls, like the dragon types, in Monster Hunter you can cut off tails and. You could go further than Dark Souls in Monster Hunter. You could cut off, like, prominent horns. Like, monsters have several pieces you could break off. And that's the thing. If you kill a monster, you're not going to get what those pieces would have dropped. Like, you actually need to be accurate and go for those if you want the horn or something like that. You have to be careful with how you aim as well as, try to not die.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, having said that, I think, Pyro, you can talk about your subject here.
Yeah, well, I mentioned in Corrective Consciousness about how I recently spent like a weekend playing a bunch of cooperative board games. So I kind of wanted to sit and talk about the games and just the idea of cooperative games in general. First of all, I just want to say that while I love competitive board games, I think cooperative board games are fun too because you're all working together. Yeah. And one of the
I like Last Night on Earth and games like that. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like it's kind of funny because in most of these games this weekend, we fiddled with the rules a little bit to make it more fun. So I'm going to start off actually by talking about this game called Time Stories, where it's really cool. I don't know how to basically explain it, but the general idea is you're going back in time to solve some mystery. And they have this really neat mechanic where you have a location and you have time units, and when you move between locations, it's actually a really complicated game to explain by words. But I will just say that if you run out of time, you can reset the game, but there's sometimes a penalty involved, or like your score at the end of the game won't be as good. But in the one that we were playing, and the other cool thing is each expansion is actually written by a different person. So the first game is you're a bunch of patients in an insane asylum. They're called receptacles, meaning the people that you are going back in time and taking the bodies of these people to help solve the case.
So it's kind of like, what was that? Quantum Leap almost?
I haven't watched Quantum Leap, so I can't tell you.
I actually haven't either, but I think that's the gimmick where he like takes over a body of someone in the past so he can make something happen.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then like the second story is like a zombie apocalypse kind of story. The one that we were playing, the third one, is kind of a medieval story. So first of all, I've had complaints with the previous ones because the previous ones felt very linear, and that like you needed to have the specific events in the correct order to actually accomplish it, like well, which is really dumb. But anyway. In this version, there wasn't much of a penalty for resetting the time units. So we got to a point where we reset it 3 times. And we're like, can we just not reset anymore and just keep going and have like negative time units because we know that we're going to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So it's one of those ideas where adjusting the rules to make it fun.
You just house ruled it.
And because like I was talking to a few of my friends saying I really like games that value my time with co-op games because considering many things that I've mentioned on this podcast, I don't have a lot of time, let's say, to play all these games. So if in this game case, Time Stories, I was playing for let's say 3 or 4 hours, it might have taken us an extra hour to do a perfect run in like the first half of the game, where eventually we're just like, you know what, let's just say that we accomplished it correctly and move on because we don't need to worry about that. So it's kind of like how I also mentioned in Arkham Horror, the card game. If you die, you can still continue the story, but you get like a trauma. So there's a penalty for that, but they realize that people aren't going to want to replay the same scenario over and over and over again to succeed. So do your best, but realize that if you keep going with a failure, that it'll be harder later on.
You know what that almost makes me think of is a lot of multiplayer Bomberman games. If you're playing with like 4 people, because if you get knocked out within like a second, then you're just sitting there. Well, until however long it takes. But with the mechanic of like playing as a ghost, so you can maybe get back in. That makes the game more fun, even if you've been taken out.
Yeah, and there's another game we were playing called Gloomhaven, which was, if anyone follows board games,
I like Gloom.
What?
Is it related to the card game Gloom?
No, it's not at all, actually.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting, but yeah, no. It's more like a dungeon crawler kind of game, where there's different scenarios you have to succeed in, and there's like a world map that you explore. It's very involved, and it has a cool system where, like, you have a hand of cards. So usually in a lot of games you have a hand of, let's say, 4 cards and a deck, and you draw cards from your deck, etc. In this game, instead, you have like 11 cards, and you can see all of them at once. But every time you go, you pick 2 cards, use the top action of one card and the bottom action of another card, and then you discard those cards. And then you keep doing that until you don't have enough cards in your hand. And then you take a rest, which means you lose a card permanently for that scenario, but you take the rest of the cards back in your hand, then you have all your actions again, basically, except for that one. And if at any point in time you have no cards, you're exhausted, and you just can't do anything for the rest of the scenario. Also, if an enemy attacks you, you could lose a card to negate all the damage they deal, so that helps you stay in the game a little bit longer. But the thing is, we were playing this game for like 2 hours or so, and we barely were beating the boss, but we also had to defeat all the other enemies on the map.
Oh.
And I personally didn't want it to play another 2 hours to reset the map and start from the beginning. So I said to everyone, like, let's say this. Let's say if we beat the boss, all the other enemies lost all their power and retreated. So we at least need to beat the boss. So we managed to beat the boss, and we beat as many other enemies as we can. And we said, you know what? We'll consider this a win, because all of us, the last time we played this game, so this is our second scenario. The last time we played it was, let's say, a month ago. If we're going to only play once a month, I don't want to have to do the same scenario.
You finally come back, and it's just like, oh, this again.
Yeah, so there's a point, though. Obviously, if we didn't kill the boss, I would have said we were very much not successful in this mission, so we kind of have to do it over. But give yourself another goal.
Part of the thing about being a good board game host is making it fun. I know that there was. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to give an example of that, but please finish your thought. I was just straight up interrupting.
So essentially, a good DM will make things challenging, but not impossible, because you want to play.
Yes.
So like anybody who's running a game night should implement a little bit of give in these structures, because you want the people playing to have fun. Even if they lose, you want them to be able to do something or accomplish something or get some satisfaction out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was going to bring up. And Vice, you know about this. When we tried playing the Doom board game.
Yeah. Now, the original Doom board game.
Yeah, there's a new Doom board game. It came out in, what was it, like 2016 or 2017 or something?
It came out like last year, I believe.
16, I think, yeah.
15, yeah, it was like in
Well, it's based off of the 2016 Doom game, and I believe it came out last year.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right around that time. But we're talking about the Doom. Like, it's called the Doom board game, but it's
based
Doom
off
3.
of Doom 3. Yeah, it's based off of Doom 3.
It's very reminiscent of Doom 3. But, we tried playing that, and that's actually supposed to be a competitive game. You can have 1 to 3 Space Marines, I believe, and then the person who controls the environment, like the DM, is, like, the opponent. And the problem is that the game is pretty broken in the DM's favor. So, like, that wasn't fun. Because, like, every turn I'm just throwing more demons at them, and it's just like, you only have so much ammo for your not pistol.
The game had a major issue with a couple things. I like the theme, and I like the way the board's laid out, and I like the pieces and everything.
Yeah.
And I also kind of like the structure of how you go through the game, but the problem with that game is that it tries to fit it into a D&D type scenario where your weapon can jam and like
that is some bullshit, because
that's
not like
Doom is
at all.
about.
Yeah, it's like your shotgun broke. Like, are you what?
Yeah, like that is not what it doesn't follow the theme well. That is about blasting hordes of enemies and and trying to survive based on crowd control and strategy of the environment. You can totally make a board game based off of that.
Yeah, and the thing, I'm speaking of which, I wonder if they did. I'm curious about the new Doom game.
Well, the new one is based off of an established game that was also has been used for a couple different properties.
Okay.
I believe it's called. Pyro would know this better. They made a Star Wars
Descent game.
Yeah, it's it's based off of Descent.
I was actually going to mention that. Like, I have Descent, and that's one of the games we were planning on playing this weekend, but we didn't get it. We didn't have time to.
Like the deck building Descent.
No, you're thinking Dominion.
Yeah,
Dominion.
So Descent is there's one person who's the GM or whatever you want to call it, the Overlord, and you have up to 4 players who are playing the characters. And I was never a huge fan of that, because if the person who's playing the Overlord is playing to win, like in Doom, it could get kind of one-sided.
Yeah.
And that's why so Descent, the good thing about that is I found out that there's an app that plays as the Overlord.
Oh, that's
so it becomes a fully competitive game. And it's like, I really like fully competitive games in that sense, because you're playing to have fun. So if everyone's on the same side, then it's a little bit easier to bend the rules to make it more fun and not obnoxious. So an example of Descent, I was playing a few weeks ago, and there's these things in the app game called peril effects to kind of penalize you for taking too long to accomplish like the dungeon. Mm-hmm. And there was a point where I was eventually going to be like, can we just ignore these peril effects? Reason being, halfway through the dungeon, one of the peril effects was split up 7 damage amongst your party, which we were like, that's not that bad. We can manage that. We'll make it so we're all still alive. We go farther. We ended up fighting a dragon, which is, if we beat the dragon, we would have beaten that dungeon. We got him to half health. Then when the next peril effect was split 14 damage amongst your party.
Come on.
We only had 14 health amongst us. So because we took a turn too long, we just died.
Wait a minute. Now, are you allowed to really fudge that? Just like overkill one party member or something?
No, because you can't put more damage on a character than they.
Okay.
So that's why I was saying, like, hey, if I played that again, I'd probably be like, okay, let's ignore that 14 damage and let's just try to beat this dungeon, because that's more fun.
That's what I was going to talk about for Doom, is like there would be some cases where I just wouldn't place monsters, because it's like, give everybody a break here. And like I remember there was one room, this is calling back to what Vice said about things breaking, and it's like, that's D&D, but that's not Doom. And there was a part where someone enters a room where they might find a blue key card, so it's like, roll a 6-sided die. But this was some bullshit. Like, on a 1 or a 2, you find the blue key card, congratulations. On a 3 or a 4, the key card breaks, which is unheard of in Doom.
A key card breaking?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And by the way, considering that monsters can spawn every turn, coming here and not getting a card is a severe... That's really bad, because now you gotta go back, and your movement is only so much. And if you roll a 5 to a 6, the key card breaks, and some of those little spiders called trites pop out. So, like, you have a 2/3 chance of a key card breaking. Why would you ever even play this section of the map? Like,
yeah.
So it got to the point, and not to mention, I wanted the players to win, because for the same reason that you were mentioning earlier, Pyro, like, oh, next time we meet, we're doing this scenario again. Like, there's like 3 or 4 scenarios. Like, I don't want to DM the same scenario again. Like, I want to see the players level up.
At least with Descent, with the whole GM versus players, is the Overlord and the players both have a goal, and if the players lose, then you still go to the next scenario, but the Overlord gets to level up. Whereas if the players win, then the players get to level up. So the thing is, I'm unsure about how balanced it was, because I never played that. So if the Overlord wins 2 times, the players have no
you're on
chance
scenario 10 and the Overlord's a guide. It's like, oh no.
But so that was the 2 big ones, I would say, that I played this weekend. Some other games I played, we played an escape room board game, which is actually pretty fun.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so there's actually many different versions of escape room games, but this one was, you have like this dial that has 4 things that you can rotate that are concentric, let's say. And on the outermost rim of this tool, there's symbols, and you pick the symbol of the room you're in. And you have to rotate the dials to be mashed up in a certain way so there's 2 more of those same symbol inside of the tool. It's a lot easier if I showed people, but you have to find out how to rotate it based on clues you'll get throughout the story. And it's a pretty neat way because they give you a time limit, like you have 2 hours to complete this. And it actually is really much a puzzle solving. The only thing that was really annoying with this one that I played was, do you know those, I forget what you call them, but those puzzles, there's like physical puzzles where, let's say you have 2 metal rings and you have to find a way to separate them.
Oh no, yeah.
So it was like that, but they were like string and paper. So I wanted to be, I didn't want to be too hard with it because I knew that I could rip it and they're supposed to be able to reuse this. But the thing about them is that some of them were kind of difficult, but like all those puzzles, when you find out how to finish it, it's like, wait, how did I not think of that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But it was really fun. We were able to beat it in like an hour and 20 minutes, which is considered good, I think.
Yeah.
Even though it was kind of funny, I cheated accidentally. So there was...
You've got a habit of doing that.
Yes.
We did it at MagFest too, remember?
Yeah.
So
like, hey, I found something. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
During... What was that?
The Castlevania escape room in MagFest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like, you're like, hey, I got a door open, and it wasn't supposed to do it that way or something.
So there was this, like, safe that we had to rotate, that we had to use this dial for. I thought you had to use it like an actual safe and rotate the thing.
Oh.
Using these 4 numbers. Instead, I was supposed to use another set of 4 numbers and just have all 4 of those numbers show up at once. But I solved it anyway using my method, so I think that was kind of a mistake on their part.
That's kind of
that
funny.
I could solve it with both numbers. But the thing is, because I solved it that way, we had trouble finding the last solution. That was a callback to that one because since I used the first number that I wasn't supposed to use, we thought that number was already used and we shouldn't use it later on.
You know what? That actually happened. Wait, I forgot. Pyro, were you with us for the escape room near where I live?
I don't think I was.
You might not have been in that one.
No.
I know Vice was because we had a few people over. It was for like a belated birthday thing, I think. But something like that happened with us, except this I think was more on the puzzle's design than like, whoops, we did it wrong. There was some sort of solution with like a letter combination, I think.
Oh yeah.
But it worked for 2 different puzzles. So I think like Vice like solved the puzzle. We're like, oh good, so that one's out, and like for the life of us we couldn't find how to get the other puzzle.
Because it was the same exact.
Use the other one again, and like I was like, oh man, come on.
Yeah. So that was fun, and those escape rooms are cool because you can they tell you how to seal it back up, so you can give it to someone else. They actually tell you.
Nice. That's really clever.
When you beat the game, give it to someone else that you know and let them play it. So you're supposed to pass it along to other people. So that's really cool.
That's neat.
So the kind of second to last co-op game that I played this weekend was Pandemic, which
I love
a
Pandemic.
lot of people have heard of Pandemic. I was never a huge fan of it because the first time I played was during this board game meetup that I went to every week or so when I was still living in New Jersey, and I really didn't understand the strategy of the game. So there was always that one there's always that one person in a co-op game, it's usually me, who is trying to tell other people the best moves they could take so we could all win.
So this is a problem that I have with this game, is I have one friend, unrelated to us, that is basically playing Pandemic by himself when we play that, and so he's a bad person to play with because he basically plays the game by yourself. You're a stand-in for him when you're playing.
So I try not to do that too much because I know that it's not just me having fun. But the first time I played Pandemic, we had this person who was like that, and I didn't understand the strategy really, or like how the best moves to take, so I didn't really want to say anything. And these were also not people that I was like friends with. So they were just people I knew from the meetup. So I really wasn't having that much fun with it, and I played it again, same thing. But then I played over the weekend with 4 friends, all of us making sure that we all made our own moves and agreed that what we were doing is better. Also, we played in easier difficulty, and we won. And I felt like this was actually more fun this time because I had more control over the board because it was an easier difficulty level. I had a better time talking to everyone involved and like agreeing on moves that we should all take, and it was more fun in this case. But I just have to say that sometimes co-op games are more fun when you know who you're playing with and you're all there to have fun, etc.
Yeah, they can be your ease of playing the game and kind of running through it, and also like you could socialize while you're playing it. You know, it's way better that way.
And not only that, even outside of skill level differences, like, oh man, I feel like I'm the one person who doesn't know what's going on, or like I'm the one person who does, and it's like, oh man, none of these guys knows what's going on. But on top of that, there's also just the attitude. Like, I'll admit, I can sometimes bring games down because I'm the let's just win the game kind of person, and I'm like. Like, it's like if people get distracted and start socializing,
you want to complete the task. You're not there for
that. Yeah, like I like when we play like apples to apples or whatever. Like I insist on playing the words straight and stuff like that, and I'm like goofy, like so. Like I'm that guy. So like if I'm playing with like people who don't share that attitude, like I'm the one who like ruins the experience. Whereas like if there's the one person who's messing around in a super
like
serious like D&D campaign or whatever, then it's like okay. Well, Mr. Ryu, I don't know if he really. It depends on the nature.
It depends.
Well, no, Mr. Ryu will troll when it's acceptable. Like he trolled during the Bloodborne card game, where like the only person like he's messing with us, but he was also hurting himself to do it. Whereas like with something like Pathfinder, like he played that straight.
Yeah, and I will say too, like if you do have the different skill levels, playing with friends helps too because the one person who doesn't know what to do, like they'll ask for help.
That's true.
As long as you don't have that, and if you have that friend who wants to take over, as long as you're friends, like you can actually talk to them sometimes and be like, "Hey, come on."
Instead of like a random board game meetup where you're like, "Oh man, this guy."
Yeah, because it's like you would feel uncomfortable like telling them. Like,
you don't want to
look
like the jerk, being like, "Oh, excuse me."
Can I make my own decisions and you not tell me what to do?
Exactly.
And then the last game I want to talk about isn't really a co-op game. It can be. But it's more just it was just really fun. It's called Drop Mix. So for those of you who haven't heard of this,
I've been wanting to play
this. It's a new Hasbro board game where imagine you have this this pad that has 5 slots for cards, and you have a deck of cards that have NFC chips, and whenever you put a card on a slot, it plays that instrument. So you have like different colors. You have yellow is usually vocals, blue is usually drums. You have green and red, which are like piano and horn and like other stuff like that. And so you can make your own mixes. And the cool thing is because it's electronic and you have to connect it to a computer or like a screen, or I guess an app. It's an app, I guess you could say, that it fixes the music to make sure that the beats work together well.
Oh, nice.
So it was really fun, and I went the friend's house that we went to set up his lights in his kitchen.
That's awesome.
They would change color with the music.
That's cool. Crazy.
So I was saying that next time we have a party, I'll bring my headphones and I'll just sit there like with my hand on my one, like being the DJ.
Yeah, perfect.
It was really fun. And there is like a versus mode that's kind of weird, but it's really just more fun. And the thing is, it can get expensive. So he has all the cards so far, and it costs him like hundreds of dollars because the base game is like $100, let's say, and it comes with a pack of 20 cards, and then the next pack of 15 cards is, let's say, $10, and there's 5 packs of 15 cards in a set, and there's so far like 4 sets out, so it's like hundreds of dollars.
It adds,
but it's still really cool, like mixing all the music and just playing with it. It was really funny. One of the vocals cards, the yellow cards, is the Doctor Who theme song. But so what happened was they put that one down, and it was just like the Doctor Who theme song. And I'm like, what happens if I put all these drum songs? And it made this like awesome techno remix of the Doctor Who theme song that like we had to save because it sounded so cool. And it was just a really like, if it was not as expensive as it was, it'd be a really fun game to just play around with at parties. Sure. Like every now and then take turns having someone just make their own mixes and change it along. And it's cool because it does fade too. So if you change a certain instrument, it'll fade it out and fade the new one in. And like, unless it's a totally different beat.
That's necessary too.
Yeah, as long as it's not a totally different beat, it will very, very like in sync change it for the new instrument.
That's important. Otherwise, like, I mean, when music is all it is, like that's jarring if it just changes. So the fade is very much appreciated.
Yeah, so it's really fun, and I would say that considering that none of us are probably willing to spend the amount of money to see that, like, look it up online for some examples. I might, next time I'm over their house, I might record it or something so you can see how cool it is. But yeah, it's pretty fun. So that's all I wanted to mention about board games, actually. It was nice talking about all these board games. I know I always talk about board games, that I enjoy them, but I don't really spend a lot of time talking about them on the podcast. So it was nice just spending this time talking about them. And I'm glad that I'm spending more time playing them, because I love playing board games so much.
Yeah, and I like hearing you, like pretty much everything else. I'm not a big wrestling guy, but I love listening to Old Man Stompy talk about it.
That's the thing. Yeah, I don't follow wrestling at all, except for what I happen to see on social media. But I'm enthralled by Old Man Stompy talking about wrestling. So it's like the same deal with the board games. Like, I could totally get into that. Like, I mean, I do like playing board games, but I don't know about any of the ones that you just talked about. But it's still super cool.
This is really why I like our podcast, because we all are individuals, and we have our own interests. We have a lot of overlap, of course, but I love hearing people that are passionate about their interests and talk about them. So I really want to thank you for sharing that with us in the audience.
Definitely,
you are very welcome.
Well, having said that, did you have any final remarks?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Well, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can find me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me as PyroJackFrost on various gaming media.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next week on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
See you later. Talk to you later.